Teamsters on KCAA Loma Linda, sponsored by Teamsters Local 1932, protecting the future of working families. Teamsters1932.org.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Good evening. Welcome to the Farron Dozier Show on KCAA Radio, 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Also streaming from the KCAA Radio.com website and mbradio.us. We got to bless the show before we get started. Let's go. When I was in my mother's womb, I had a calling on my life to do something in the glory of God and marry it like a wife. Commit myself to his word and never be led astray. And when it's all over, when he comes, I'll be glad to see that day in the morning time. All right, welcome to the Farron Dozier Show on KCAA Radio 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Also streaming from the KCAA Radio.com website, the station that leaves no listener behind, and MBR Radio on all platforms, Twitter, TikTok, the app. Make sure you go download the app, and also on Roku TV. So if you go to Roku TV, search MBR Radio and you will find our channel. Click download that, launch that, and you can catch us now on Roku, streaming across all those platforms. Tonight, always a very important show for you here on the Farron Dozier Show / Trench Talk. Shouts out to MBR Radio for allowing me to bring my military talk show here to their platform. You know, it's so important for veterans to have a voice, and the MBR radio platform allows us to have this voice as well. So thank you again for listening. I got Alan here. I got Robert Lamar. We might catch Jody, a.k.a. DBC, here tonight. So I got to play some public service announcements, and then we'll get right back into this episode, the Farron Dozier Show. Tonight, my question to you, the listeners, have you ever heard people say, what would you go back and tell your 20-year-old self, right? We talk like that. My question is, what do you tell yourself today? Let's not try to go back to the past. What are you telling yourself today? And so we're going to get into that topic tonight, all right? So you might want to take some notes. You might want to do some soul searching. You might be ready and willing to look in your own life and start to tell the truth about where you are. This is the Farron Dozier Show. We got Sports Collective as well. Don't get it twisted. We do sports and highlights and everything else still here. But the Farron Dozier Show is a variety show based off my sickle cell trait awareness, of course. However, we share this platform with all different type of topics. So if you want to be a guest, hit me up at Farron Dozier on all platforms. Send me a message, and you too could be able to come here and be live with us if you're prepared. All right. So the Farron Dozier Show on KCA Radio 106.5 FM, 1050 AM, also streaming from the MBR platforms and KCARadio.com. Shout out to what's the count.
Some of us still carry the burden of battle. It threatens to drown us in our everyday lives. In battle, we had our weapons and combat gear to keep us safe, to keep us confident. But when we returned home, we were not armed with weapons and gear to cope with our own minds. I was lucky to find my combat gear, my mental weapon, and it's called Calmago. Calmago is a drug-free device that allows you to achieve calm in less than 3 minutes in moments of anxiety, stress, anger, panic, or insomnia, not with medication, but rather by activating the parasympathetic nervous system through breathing regulation and multisensory stimulation. A recent study has shown that Calmago decreases PTSD and anxiety levels in veterans, helping those who are suffering and having a long-lasting effect. Visit Comigo.com to learn how you can get Comigo through the VA or with a special veterans discount code.
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm blessed, my brother. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Hey, did you see the game last night?
Oh, that was a good game.
But did you see the shot?
I lost money from that shot.
Oh, man, that shot was cold,
I
man.
hated it, but it was good. Damn. What's in those jeans?
You really want to know?
I do.
Exhaustion, muscle spasms, asthmatic issues, unexpected sickle cell trait crises.
Damn. Are you serious? When I was young, I found out I had sickle cell trait. My mom's told me, but I ain't have no knowledge of it. But when I got older, I had a child, and the doctor told me my daughter has sickle cell trait. Do you know the facts that both parents have sickle cell trait? There's a 50% chance the child may have the trait, and 25% chance the child may have the disease.
Hey, that's what's the count. Do you know that 2.5 million people in the United States have sickle cell trait, 300 million people globally? I didn't find out I had sickle cell trait until I was in the Army, 10 years. Next thing you know, I had a sickle cell trait exertion site.
Sickle cell? I thought that was a black gene or something.
Nah, man, the Latin community is number 2. 1 out of 36,000 babies are being born with sickle cell disease. You could be Caucasian, Mediterranean, European. You gotta know your bloodline, man. There is an inherited gene in our community that has been forgotten. The name is sickle cell trait. WDCONSCT, also known as What's the Count, is out to bring awareness, education, and prevention to people all over the globe. Want more information? Call us now at 323-215-5384 or visit www.wdconsct.org. All right. So again, welcome back to the Farron Dozier Show on KCA Radio 106.5 FM and 1050 AM. Also on NBR platforms. So make sure you go check us out, Roku TV as well. All right. So let's get this episode started. It is August 4th. And, you know, my conversation today is around identity crisis, right? And this is also a military platform. And me, as a retired Sergeant First Class of 24 years, I could honestly tell you that I battled with my identity, right? Especially when it was time for me to medically be retired out of the service. And the 24 years of service that I did, I didn't know who Farron was, right? I was lost. I realized that my identity was in my uniform. It was in that camouflage, right? And that set me on a whole nother course of life, which led me down the rabbit hole to be in front of you today with that same, the things that I was dealing with. And so I got Alan here, who's going to back me up, of course, with his professional skills, qualified skills. So I don't say nothing too far off to the left. But yeah, I wanted to bring that. So when I thought about identity crisis, I was looking at what are the questions that we ask ourselves, and the one popped up I've seen on social media for years is, what would you tell your 20-year-old self? And my 20-year-old self was 1 year in the military, so I was brand spanking new, right? And I can tell you, on my bunk one night, we had got done doing a bunch of missions that day. I think we were low crawling and M6T training, and we was just all over the place. I remember just laying on my bunk, looking up at the ceiling, and my mind said, "What are you doing here?" And as soon as I said that, I can tell you my brain clicked over. And from that moment on, I was no longer Farron. I was a soldier. And that identity switched. And I could tell you, I know when it happened, I can remember. And, the military, they teach us how to turn it on, but not how to turn it off. And so how do we turn that off, right? Now, I'm talking to us from perspective of soldiers, but imagine it's a human being conversation. Imagine you're an athlete, which I got Robert Lamar here, who played football in high school and college, right? And that uniform is done at whatever level you're playing sports at. What's next after that uniform? What's next after you're a police officer? Do you know that police officers' suicide rates are high as well? When they retire from being a police officer, that identity crisis is real. It's not just a military concept or perspective. It is a human being flaw, right? So I want to know what you think about yourself today. Let's not go back to 20 years old. We're living right now in today's time. And what do you tell yourself? What do you think about when you think about yourself? You know what I think about? I think about life is fun, exciting, and dangerous. And I think about that I'm not worth it, that I'm not good enough, that I don't belong, there's something wrong. Like all that swims in the back of my mind. So we're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to get in touch with a little bit of that if you're willing to tell the truth to yourself. And who do I have to help me do that?
Hey!
He's more than just in my sickle cell community, but we met on this sickle cell journey, right?
Well, I like to tell this story, so since you opened me up, I'll share it. Farron WDC is definitely one of those people I call living angels because he saved my life. And he doesn't like when I say it, but I'll say it every time I get a chance. And I will say it again because, you know, I wouldn't be here after God and some other very, very, you know, pivotal angels in my life. You were one of those people. So, yeah, so you called me and said, let's do the show. And I said, hey, guess what? I can't say no to the one, the only WDC.
One, the only, right? Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. And what he's pointing to is he was dealing with a real serious sickle cell crisis at one point in his life when he came to California.
Not just one,
multiple. But this one particular time when I heard you, and I have been working with Lupita, who does Botanical Herbal CO, which I got a PSA to play for her. I was working with them. And she's an apprentice of Dr. Sebi.
Yeah.
And they still produce those supplements and those compounds. And so I introduced Alan to Dr. Sebi's crew. And here we are today. My man is still. Had a crisis?
No.
Yeah. So
I'm crisis free.
Dr. Sebi said he cured AIDS, HIV,
and here I am. A lot of people don't know my story, but I'm here.
Yeah.
You know, I shouldn't be here. I really should not be here. Yeah. But you know, that's not what the show is about. The show is about.
But we got to do a little level of sickle cell trait awareness. It is Sickle Cell Awareness Prevention Month in Fontana, California, my city, with my 9th proclamation. So of course, I gotta spread some awareness for my sickle cell trait. So if you have questions out there, no, for real, if you got questions out there and you need information, make sure you check me out at wdconsct.org. Yeah. All your sickle cell trait. We talk about risk factors. There are complications. So if you're listening and you have a family member with sickle cell trait or sickle cell, there are risk factors around sickle cell traits that people aren't aware of. It's not just mating with another person to possibly have a child with the disease. There are also health complications. There are risk factors, kidneys, mind exertional with rhabdo, thrombosis, blood clots. There are a rare kidney cancer, all connected to sickle cell trait, fatigue, pain, crisis, right? So those are all real symptoms that I've been blessed to be an ambassador of, to share my story and take that conversation on 300 million people globally. I got a PSA for that in case you missed the first one. But you're right, Alan. We are not here just for that tonight. But let me bring on Robert Lamar, man. Robert Lamar, are you ready, man? I see you down there moving around, man. Are you ready? You walking around, man? You gonna find the seat?
I'm making chili. What's happening?
Oh, you making chili? Oh, we got a Chef Boyardee in the building, ladies, live. Thanks for hanging out, man.
If it's not for the kids, it's for the ladies. Come on now.
Well, hey, this is live right here. So we live on the radio and we live on Roku and all the other streaming platforms. So you fit right in on TikTok and everything else. Yeah, you're right in there with the mix. Robert, before we get into real details about this, man, I want you to touch on, you know, when I brought up the identity crisis, and you're a football guy, blessed to play that sport up into some college levels. For you,
Yeah.
when that uniform came off, man, what was that? What was that like for you when that uniform came off? Just give me a little bit of that.
Oh, to try to figure out what to do with the rest of my life, because I mean that uniform was done with me at the age of 20,
Yeah.
and I thought that I had an opportunity to get it back on at the age of 22. It wasn't going to be D1, it was going to be D2 at Howard.
Yeah.
22, 23. So I was going to be one of them old dudes playing like college football. But when that opportunity was taken away,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so I got to try to figure out how to blend in a world that I don't know how to blend in because I'm out of school at this point.
Yeah.
Trying to find a job, like nobody's giving me any type of guidance. So I'm trying to figure it out, and that was a really rough time for me.
Yeah.
Really rough time because you got to realize that at 22 years old, that's done. It's like, okay, so what now, bro?
Yeah.
Out of school, get a job. Okay, but I don't want to work none of these type of jobs. I don't.
Yeah.
But, you got to fit in because you got to pay the bills. So I mean, it was really tough. It was really tough, and I think like you had this is such an excellent discussion because you said, what would you ask your 20-year-old self?
Yeah.
And my 20-year-old self, the advice to my 20-year-old self is to find someone who knows what they're talking about. Because everybody is saying this and that, but I swear to God, it's like there's a few people that actually can give you guidance, that has direction, and actually has the things that you actually want.
Yeah.
Because the 20-year-old will be like, okay, they'll take no advice from someone who doesn't have what you want.
That's cool because
None.
I talk about that
because
we address that because sometimes in the job that you want to take, that you want to do, you might have to go and talk to people in that field so you can find out the unforeseen consequences. You can find out how they did it, what they went through, and that might be enough to change your mind also. Like, hey man, I might not want to do that anymore. I might need to figure out something else. So man, I appreciate you.
Might not be for you.
Might not be for you. So I appreciate you for that, man. I'm gonna put you on mute right quick, and then let Alan Emmanuel, the happiness coach, give us when I text you the topic. What was the first thing that came to mind, man?
So the first thing that came to mind is, what would you say to yourself, Alan Emmanuel, the happiness coach? But as I listened to Robert and the conversation, what really sticks out for me is that a lot of times we have these conversations about identity, and we forget that actually deeper than the things that we do are the things that we be. Because the things we do, we tend to connect those to identity as if they are what makes us human, right?
Right.
So we feel a sense of disconnection from people, from things, when the things we do don't seem to fulfill us anymore, or if they're gone, like oh man, I'm not connected to this group of people who do this or to this thing. But in reality, identity is the deepest level of human existence. It is the being.
Yeah.
Identity is that thing that says if you attack a human being's identity, it gets to be personal. You understand what I'm saying? Because it's the deepest level of us being human. Like, I like this quote, Viktor Frankl, and you probably heard it from Landmark, but it's human beings are meaning-making machines, right? You love it.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. So we tend to create meaning around what we believe things mean in our lives. But the truth is, our identity is the meaning that we offer our being. In other words, that thing that people would say to you if you were at your own eulogy. What would they say about you? You
Ooh-wee.
see what I'm saying? Like
Ooh-wee.
that's the level of identity. That's what tells you the kind of human being you choose to be.
Yeah.
So if we're gonna have a conversation about what would you say to yourself about yourself at that time, I think a deeper conversation is what would you say about who you want to be perhaps in 20 years? And the truth is, the past is gone. You can't do nothing about that. The future, guess what? It's not here yet. So if you really want to affect any part of your life, it starts in the present. It starts right now. So if you want to know how your identity shifts, you have to look at how your present is looking. Decide if your present is actually the space where you're living and if you're living at your highest self right now. You understand what I'm saying? Because your highest self is actually the place where your identity gets to shine without all the layers of things we put on, like I'm not good enough at this, or I'm not that, I'm not this.
So let's go there, because before we can deal with that identity of self, what are you telling yourself about yourself first, right? And as I
because
said,
that story,
that gets in the way. Even as great of a work that I do in my community, as great of a work that God has allowed me to do in my community, allowed me to speak at church, 2 churches, to share my message, to do these talk shows. There are days that I go and sit down and I'm like, you ain't good enough.
Still having that conversation.
Out of all of everything that I've accomplished, even with a great career,
which is nuts.
I still,
because if you do it logically, right? Logically, you'll say to yourself, well, that don't make sense. It don't really line up to who I am, right? But it's a story. That's why I went to Viktor Frankl. The meaning we're giving to who we choose to be. And that's why I think the deepest part of yourself is the part that's able to say, right? Oh, my identity is connected to a deeper and more real sense of self. Now, one thing I don't think you can get away with having a conversation about this is your sense of spirituality, because there is a non-tangible aspect. And this is, I'm actually working on a book right now. And one of the things that I find quite interesting is your spiritual self, which is all of these non-tangible realities that point to a self that is deeper than the thing that we might be calling our the true self, right? So deep down inside, every human being has a non-tangible self. Now, whoever you choose is your higher power that you believe in and that you call, whether you're an atheist or you believe in God, but the deeper sense of yourself is not tangible, like the job you do. It's not a tangible thing.
But so I want to go back, right? I want to touch on this because I want to get to for me, the core of the uniform comes off.
Yep.
Right. I made a decision that life was over in the midst of that uniform coming off. So I was already dealing with that, looking for evidence. But when I was willing to do the work around all of my life and take ownership of my behaviors and my life experiences, I found this thing that says complex post-traumatic stress disorder.
Mm-hmm.
Complex. Now, we deal with military, we talk about post-traumatic stress, right? But complex comes from, I feel like I don't have the right to exist. I bother people just by being alive.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I'd never been born.
Mm-hmm.
I am a burden. I feel invisible. I am nothing. I don't matter. I'll never be enough. I'm all alone in this world. I can't even get enough hugs.
Do you realize what all of those have in common?
I'm pointing to these because I want people to look in their life and tell the truth, right? Because this could be some of the things that's deep and rooted in your subconscious mind that you're trying to have this great life from, right? And then when it's all said and done and the curtain closes and the lights go out and it's dark, what are you saying to yourself about who you are?
Those are the stories.
That's what I'm saying. These could be for you one of those versions of I'm not worth it. I'm not good enough. I'm on my own. I don't belong. There's something wrong with me. I'm on my that could.
So you know what
identity?
Can I say something?
Here? One.
Wait, can I say something about what you said? The deepest question you can ask before you try to answer, what would you say to yourself about yourself at whether it be 20 years ago or today?
Right.
Is do you know who you are?
Mm.
Because if the real question comes to you at any point, right, and you have to determine how do I define, my identity as a human being, the question you have to ask is, do you know who you are? That's why I came with that Viktor Frankl's quote. It really understanding that we create meaning.
Yes.
So if you're willing to have the honest conversation that I have stories about myself that may not even represent the true me, or may have been given to me at some point, but the truth is that somewhere along the line I picked up a story, and if my circumstances change, would I need to change the story? That's how you know your story's not deep enough.
Circumstances. You're gonna go there. All right, let's play. I gotta play some more public service announcements.
All right.
If you had not noticed, for August, I changed my beard, man. I took off the mustache.
All right. Sometimes you gotta do it.
I was like, you know what? Let me see how this looks. Let me see what would this look, because I honestly I don't like wearing a mustache. I didn't wear, of course, in the military. I started out with a mustache in my early years, but after that I just shaved. It was all or none.
It's weird because I've never seen you with any kind of facial hair until
exactly. I never because of the service. And then when I retired, it was like I'm not no. But then 2 years ago now, I think I've been wearing my beard. But this last stretch, I've been like, I gotta find my own look. Like, what is my look? So I looked and I'm like, you know what? I don't like my mustache. It looks raggedy by the fourth day. So went to the barber and I was like, honestly, I saw an emoji. You know how we can make those emojis for ourselves. So there was one I was doing the beard, and I saw it was like a goatee, but it had like a little bitty fuzz on the sides and the beard. I was like, I wonder if I could pull that off right there. So this is my emoji. This is my emoji. This is my emoji beard right here, y'all. But we have a sponsor here on MBR, and I want to play J&J Beard Company, right? And then we'll come back to some more talks, and we're going to get more in depth about this identity. Forget about asking your 20-year-old self. Yeah. Let's figure out today, so you can figure out who you need to become today to be free from that 20-year-old self.
Because I would say the question is, who do you choose to be?
We get choices. All right, because we do decide who we get to be. We don't realize that. It already.
Yeah.
That's
that is the real question.
That's the way
you're choosing to be, because that's what your identity is tied to your choice.
Yeah. So we'll be right back. This is my beard right here, y'all.
Introducing J&J Beard Co., your go-to destination for high-quality handmade and natural beard products. Our family-owned business, based in New Jersey, prides itself on using the finest ingredients to bring you premium products that will elevate your grooming routine. Each product is carefully crafted with love and expertise, ensuring that you get the best care for your beard. Treat yourself to the luxury of J&J Beard Co. and experience the difference that true quality and craftsmanship can make for your beard. Join the J&J Beard Co. family today and unleash the full potential of your facial hair with our exceptional products. Find them on the web at jjbeardco.com. That's jjbeardco.com. Get ready for an epic collaboration as MB Radio and Patriot Radio join forces. These veteran-owned stations are uniting to bring you top-notch, veteran-run podcasts, along with your favorite classic rock music 24/7. Stay tuned for the ultimate radio experience that celebrates our heroes and plays the tunes that never get old. From engaging discussions to timeless hits, this partnership has everything you need for your listening pleasure. Don't miss out on this exciting new chapter in radio history as MB Radio and Patriot Radio come together to rock your world.
Zetovia salve, made from natural and organic ingredients, good for inflammation, poor circulation, hemorrhoids, yeast infection, lip sores, dry coughs, eye pain, minor cuts and bruises, and ready to purchase at botanicaherbalco.com. 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 Tune in to the Farron Dozier Show on KCA Radio 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Also streaming from the KCARadio.com website on Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific Time. Brought to you by Sports Collective TV, Sports Collective Radio, and Sports Collective Media. We got the Heme Factor, we got In the Zone, and we got Fourth Down in the 20-second timeout sports segment. All for you right here on the Farron Dozier Show on KCA Radio 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Also streaming from the KCARadio.com website with my guest hosts Robert Lamar and Coach Will. Catch us on Sports Collective Media on Instagram and Facebook. And make sure you watch us Sunday nights at 8 p.m. on KCA Radio 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Also streaming from the KCARadio.com website. Music, talk, sports, and so much more. The Farron Dozier Show.
I just wanna praise His name, my God. Lift His name up high, dedicate this vibe, give 'em all we got. We will testify with our hands held high, keep 'em up in the sky.
I just wanna praise. I just wanna praise. I just wanna praise. I just wanna praise. I made it up out of the city, avoided the hate and the gritty. Me and my little brother, my lovely mother tried to make it easy, but we was some knuckles though. We used to let them knuckles throw. We used to let them chuckles go when we thought about the places we would go. Yeah, lights off. Yeah, no, really. Lights off. Yeah, no money. Lights off. Under the candlelight.
All right, welcome back to the Farron Dozier Show. That's right. You can catch me on, it's no longer Dash Radio anymore. It's Lit Live, right? So if you interested in some Christian hip-hop talk shows, music, Christian hip-hop, catch me Saturday nights at 7 p.m., right, on GH3 Radio. And then it airs again on Sunday at 5 p.m., the Revolution Radio Show. Shouts out to J Love and Lillian. They are on a break. So guess who has the show now, right? So come September, we about to do it. We're about to interview some Christian hip hop artists, find out their testimony, play some music, top 5 Christian hip hop songs, all there on the Lit Live. Go download that app. If you're not familiar, Lit Live are also in American cars. So if you drive a Jag or a Range Rover, Chevys, like those, it's already in the app. It's already on the screen. Lit Live, 6 million plus listenerships on that as well. GH3 Radio, God's House of Hip Hop, the Revolution Radio Show. That's my Christian hip hop talk show. That's right. We keep it, as you heard, Emmanuel, we keep it spiritual for sure.
Listen,
that is a part of my life.
I was just thinking, I can't keep up with you. You're on way too many radio shows.
Hey, that's my identity right now, man. That's my
your identity right now.
Robert is back, man. We're gonna get back into this, man. That chili done, yo? Can we get a?
That's what I want. I want some chili.
You gotta eat it on camera, man. We want to see if you choke. Is it good?
I'm letting it simmer down.
Huh?
I'm letting it simmer down.
Oh, now it's gotta
simmer down.
Simmer down.
Gotta let it simmer a little bit.
So, man, Robert and I, man, Robert, I appreciate you, bro. You know I love you, man. I really appreciate you, man, for hanging out all the time. This aspect of sports that we talk about, the military and the athlete, to me, are so close in the same, because depending on when you start playing football, if you was 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And you're blessed to play high school football, and you're blessed to play JUCO or college, and then if you're blessed to play at the next level of overseas or professional, like that's the same mindset, because sometimes the athlete loses themselves in that student athlete name title, right? Because now you're a student athlete, right? And you got to live up to that identity, and then you become that athlete. And I guess the biggest thing for me with the stuff that we were talking about, Alan, that we tell our stories of the I'm not good enough and I'm not worth it, yet we portray this we pretend like everything is cool.
That's
but
the mask.
do you really get a chance to deal with all your life as this soldier? I had to learn to turn off my feelings and emotions, because they told me that if you are daydreaming in combat and you're you're over here daydreaming and the enemy is attacking, you could get everybody killed because your mind is not present to where you are in the battlefield. And I can only imagine, Robert, being an athlete, being present to the sport, but having your whole family on your back, right? I gotta make this happen. Like, I'm doing this. This is my drive. It's not just for you no more. It's for the people in your life. And then that uniform is done. To me, that's how does one really help someone deal with that when we don't really tell the truth about how we even feel about when that uniform is done or that sport is done? Anybody?
Yeah, there's no coach for that. There's no coach for that. You know, football is, I always say, you got to be crazy to play football at a high level, because you're okay with getting hit or hitting people and thriving in that type of chaos. You know, that's not for everybody. But you know, they turn you up, but nobody turns you down.
Mm.
There's no help for being turned down, and there's no help for, like, well, if you didn't make it. It's like, pretty much, you don't make it. It's like, okay, well, good luck to you, son. It's like you're literally turned to the streets if you don't pan out.
Yeah.
And that can be a very dangerous place if you don't got, like, no help, no guidance, no, like, it's really about, like, the guidance.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people wash out of JUCO. JUCO is there for you to wash out. It's not really there for you to kind of go to the next level.
Yeah.
As bad as that sounds, you know, this is pretty much the statistics, and that's why transfers, the students are able to get accepted into whatever school they want to get into, because they've done their 2 years, so the institution trusts them. They're a mature student, so they're worth the gamble.
Yeah.
And they only got 2 years to deal with them too, so it's like, okay, cool, we'll take a chance on that.
Yeah.
But for the ones who did make it, there's more that didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
And
exactly.
for the ones who didn't, nobody's checking for them.
Yeah.
Nobody's checking for them. So, you know, you got like a lot of smart people that just aren't able to find their way.
Yeah.
And for me, man, I couldn't find my way for a very long time until we met in broadcasting school.
Yeah.
You know, that's when I finally decided to listen to everybody and just go chase what makes you happy, because nothing was about making me happy.
Yeah.
You know, it's not fun, like, working a job that you don't like to work, you know, coming home, not being appreciated, all that. That's just, it's like, oh, okay, cool. So what are you doing? You're existing in everyone's world and you're miserable in yours.
Exactly.
So, and
let me add DBC. Jody, you're on the deck right now, DBC. I know you are off camera. That's cool. But I wanted to bring you up on deck, man, just to acknowledge you. If you're just gonna there you go. Take yourself off mute. Hey, man, Jody, we're talking about the identity crisis, and what would you tell your 20-year-old self? And you being a gospel rapper, you know, and my teammate in this sickle cell advocacy world, do you ever think about what you would go back in time to tell your 20-year-old self? Do you ever think about that?
All the time. All the time, man.
What's up, Jody?
I would go back. I'm like, man, at 20, I should have been focused more on my education, even though I went to college 4 years. But I would have changed classes, and I would have got more information on credit and how to save money and how to invest. I think about that all the time because I never had nobody to sit down and talk to me about credit. Now I'm working on my credit right now, but sometimes I wish I could go back and like, wow, would I have any kids? Would I would have been married? Would I would have been? Oh, I could have avoided a lot of things like getting hurt in the clubs, becoming an alcoholic. I wish I can go back and change all that. You know.
I appreciate you, man. Thanks for sharing that, bro. You're more than welcome to chime in. Alan, man, like I said, you keep us on the straight path, man. So what do you want to say, to us and the people?
I just keep hearing these stories about stuff we're tying ourselves to. And the word that keeps coming back up for me is pedestals. Like we put ourselves up on pedestals, and when we fall, we have this idea that because we fell, then somehow we're not good enough. That's the story that keeps coming up. Like, man, I made it up to this, and then because I didn't stay on that pedestal. But I think pedestals are dangerous because a lot of us still live in this space like we have to meet up to this thing in order to actually be or become who we say we are, when in fact none of it is true. Like you are already at your highest. I think of it like this: when you have a seed, if you have an apple seed and you put it in the ground, that thing is perfect. If you water it and it becomes like a little, a little 2 leaves coming out of the ground, that thing is a perfect state. And then when it becomes a trunk and it has little buds coming out, it's perfect. And then when it has apples growing out of it, it's perfect. Every stage is perfect. But if we think that our seasons determine who we are, then we have a problem because we're not connecting to the true self. The true self is deeper than the things that are changing. The constant is that we get to determine who we are in every season as it changes. So if something changes in your situation, you got to remember you're bigger than the situation. You are the one who creates your environment, the thing you want to be in. You can shift at any time, whether you're going from being an athlete to being, a teacher, a doctor, whether you go from being, somebody who's in the military to doing that. Is literally, it comes from the inside out. It's not the outside in, and that's where we got it twisted.
But you said, so let's use your seed analogy. That seed analogy of I'm not good enough and I'm not worth it, or there's something wrong with me, or I don't belong, that's planted way before adulthood. That's planted usually in some disappointment from our environment.
So I think of it like this, Farron. The seed is you. You are the perfect every stage. But what you're talking about is what kind of environment are you in? So that would be like the soil. That would be like the rain. Are you getting, fortified soil, or did you get some soil that rocks in it that you can't grow in, right? So but the true you is gonna grow no matter what.
No matter what.
You just have to decide. And if the environment changes, you need to be ready to understand you are good enough to adapt. But you have to know you. That's why I said that question earlier. Do you know who you are? And you get to define that at every stage of the game.
And see the defining for me when I did this work matter of fact, probably the last 5 years ago now, that identity, right? Because my identity switched from a basketball player and growing up, high school, and then identity changed to be a soldier. And then when that came to an end, I was lost. And then I replaced that identity of being lost to a sickle cell trait advocate. Right. And then that became my identity. And then I even battled being an advocate because sometimes I would go to health fairs and I don't want to talk about sickle cell trait today. I just want to be a regular. So I started questioning myself now, who is Farron without none of this identity stuff?
That's the real question. Who are you? Like if you got rid of everything can you still have an identity that I know? Let me tell you something. You see that the happiness coach after my name? If you got rid of that, you see Alan Emanuel.
Yeah.
If you got rid of that, I still know who I am inside. And I actually got the happiness from the inside self.
Right.
I bring that to the conversation. That's the energy I bring in. See, so when people see me smiling, they're like, "You always like this?" Yeah. So that's what I bring to the situation. And you have to determine from the inside out. Literally, you determine who you get to be, and then you could go into any situation. And you will be all right. But we try to put on degrees, we put on, all kinds of things to say that this is who we are. No. The you is the real you is when you get rid of all of this stuff and you say, I'm completely whole. That's why I want that spiritual part.
Let me take it to Robert before we take this commercial break here. Robert, you got In the Zone, you got Scholar Me, we're here on the Sports Selective TV, media, radio. What do you think should be our conversation to these young athletes, man? I mean, you know where I stand for sure, but what do you see that's not right or wrong, but missing in some of these things that outside of the uniform conversation? If that's a good way to pose that question to you. I point to mental toughness.
It's really
go ahead.
It's a lot because like mental toughness, a lot of them households is not addressed. The majority of them, they're not. So a lot of those kids is lacking that. They're lacking a lot. It's really tough when you really like peel it all, like when you peel off all the layers, because if these kids don't perform, they've been hearing about how they're going to be this draft pick since they're 5 years old. And when that doesn't happen, what does this kid do? Like you're a failure at this point, and you're 18 years old. Like, damn, I'm a failure.
That's the word right there. Like you literally are connecting to the wrong word, and that's what I'm saying. Like if you can get a kid to understand this is what you're doing, this is not who you are. Like that's not your being, that's your doing. So you can take that same level of whether it be mental toughness or whatever it is that you're building inside to get the skill you're getting. You can put that. It's like somebody with a resume who says, well, I can't work nowhere else because, I had a career in this and now I can't move to that. Right. When in fact, all of the pieces that made you have the skills, those pieces came from you. And so now you step into a brand new role and they're like, how'd you get this role? Well, because the things that I was doing came from a deeper place than just a piece of paper with my name on it. I can actually bring myself to every one of those things, but teaching that inside of the sport from the beginning would actually help. That's why I said pedestal. One last thing, pedestals are dangerous if you start to think this is it. You get to this and then that's it. And then you get there and you're disappointed. You need to actually come with your full self so that you can take it to the next level for whatever else you want to do.
So let's go, Jody. You there, man? Because I need you to help me address this conversation. I know Alan can do it, but he's in a different role tonight. Jody, now we're going from military to athletes to now living with an affliction like a health complication or a health disparity like sickle cell. And I know one of the questions silently our community asks themselves is, am I a burden on my family because of my illness? And so, Jody, can you speak to anything around feeling like a burden on folks? Did that ever happen to you?
Yeah, I'm the only one that was born with sickle cell. And my mom always gave me special treatment, but I always felt that I was a burden. Even when I got married, I felt like I was a burden to my wife. And it's just because I'm like, man, it's not our fault the way we was born. But I always felt that I was a burden. And sometimes that's why a lot of people give up living with sickle cell. Because they feel they're a burden to other people. And it's tough, man, because that's everybody I know with sickle cell say the same thing. if they're a burden. Even I'm in my 50s, man. Sometimes I feel like I'm a burden to my kids, even though they're grown and I raised them. I still feel that I'm a burden sometimes, especially if I'm sick and I can't get up or move or walk. And then my daughters have to go back and forth to the store for me, and I feel that I'm a burden, even today.
Yeah. Thank you, man. And this is why, Alan, I wanted to have this, because this is a human being conversation. We label it as a veteran issue or an athlete issue. No, this is a human being that we all deal with some version of this. And are you willing to tell the truth of how you talk to yourself about yourself? And we are our worst hater. It's not the people out there in the world that's hating on us. Your own subconscious mind will tell you things about yourself, and you believe that voice. Yes, you might have evidence that, like Robert said, man, you're okay. I failed at that, right? But then, what does your environment teach you about failure, right? I had to get a new perspective of failure. You know what my failure is today, Alan? Failure to me is doing what I don't want to do, and I'm doing it anyway.
Yes.
That's failure. That when you're doing something that you don't want to do, but you're doing it anyway,
right?
And then so you're not taking it on completely. You're suffering because it's not getting done because you really don't want to do it. But then there's change. What's connected? Is it fear? Is it doubt? Is it self-doubt? What is in the way of why can't I just say, you know what, I'm done with this?
I want to say something, because what Jody DBC said is so real. It's so real, because your environment will play a part, but when you living with the enemy, quote unquote, in your body, it often feels, and I know about this.
Yeah, I know you know.
It often feels like it's a never-ending story, because no matter what you say with your mouth, right? If you're having, let's say, your crisis, or you're having the pain or whatever, you almost have to constantly be, and that's why we call us warriors, right? because you have to actually constantly have a mindset of what I see, what I feel, what I experience is not the real me. And that's a hard thing to do when it comes to illness. It is so hard, and especially with sickle cell, because it's so debilitating, and having to deal with constantly being in the hospital and going through that whole experience can make you question your true self and what you're here, your purpose in life.
Life.
It's almost like you have to put on the whole armor every day.
Yeah.
You have to literally say to yourself, you know what do I have today, and what am I choosing to do with it today? Just today. Because you can't, it's not like you have the ability to say, oh, I know what's going to happen next week. So, because sometimes what you think is going to happen next week is the opposite, because you don't have control over your own body that fights against you. So I think this is where a real battle against your mind versus your body starts, which is, what am I going to do with what I have that I can't change, and what I can change, and wisdom to know the difference between the two.
And you're using these words, right? And everything that we're talking about is in language. And sometimes for people, change is tough, is hard. So how we talk, I got to end it with this, is how we describe our life, which could also be our trap on how we talk about ourselves and how we talk about life and your identity. So again, how do you talk about yourself and describe your life could be just as limiting as reality, because now you're talking about change and the living into the future of uncertainty, right? And then you got the depression that comes from the past. So I got regrets from the 20-year-old stuff that I didn't do, and then I'm living into the future of uncertainty. And then now, so my today is anxiety. My body is anxious because my mind is so far out. And so these are the things, ladies and gentlemen, that we will address at all levels, from the military to the athlete to living with a chronic illness to just you at home, just trying to figure out who are you? Who do you get to be? I get to be someone that allows others to see their greatness through my self-expression. That's one way I get to be. When I show up without nothing, it's just who I get to be and who God has me to be. Because now I'm looking at my purpose of that, of my experience of life, and then I have a purpose of my activity, which is this talk show right here. So I get to show up in a few different ways. Alan, man, thank you so much for hanging out. DBC, I appreciate you, yo.
No problem.
Jody, keep the faith. Keep the faith.
Oh man, we getting it in. We got to go to the military base this weekend, man. Camp Robert, shout us out. What's the count? WDCONSCT.org. I did not do it for you, Alan, but here is, if you want to reach out to Mr. Alan, manual coach, and make sure you check him out. That's my guy right there. Boom. The happiness coach. We getting it in. I got to get out of here. Play these PSAs one last time. Shout us out. What's the count? WDCONSCT.org for more information about sickle cell trait. We out of here, man. I appreciate y'all. Alan, man, thanks, man. All right, so make sure you catch us next Sunday right here on the Farron Dozier Show. Shout us out. What's the count? And we are out of here. This is Farron from the Farron Dozier Show, 8 p.m. Pacific Time on KCAA Radio, 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Also streaming from the KCAA Radio.com website, the station that leaves no listener behind, and MBR Radio. That's right, MBR Radio on all their streaming platforms, including MBR Radio on Roku TV, Sunday nights live, 8 p.m. Pacific Time on KCAA Radio and MBRradio.us. The Farron Dozier Show. For more information, search farrond.com.
KCAA. Eat bread, lose weight. That's right. Eat bread, lose weight. Hello, everybody. I'm Joseph from Joseph's Organic